And I'm gonna go with the whole hog. Leave out
Really?
the Warlock altogether. I'll go with the whole hog. I thought it was my perfect example of what I want in a slice of pumpkin pie, with even with the whipped cream added on top.
So, are you a convert?
Yeah,
No,
the man who doesn't like
absolutely
the pumpkin beers.
not a convert to pumpkin beers. This is more pumpkin beer than I've drank in the last 4 years. Cheers. And welcome back to the Tap Takeover Podcast. And we have a special little treat for you here today. A short little episode. We're going to take you on down to Jesus' pumpkin patch. And we have Jesus' pumpkin picks. And he is going to pick out some special pumpkin beers that have been sitting in his cellar for a couple of years. Till we're going to tell you how they aged. And we're going to tell you what he likes.
All right, man. Well, I went into the cellar, and I'm going to start with a little side-by-side here. We're not going to go into the 2017 Imperial Pumpkin Lakefront, but we're going to go 2015 and 2016. Both beers are pretty similar, but the 2015 was advertised as 9.5% alcohol, and 2016 took it a little bit. It went up a little bit.
How much?
Yeah,
4%.
13.4%.
13.4. Yeah, okay.
But
so
overall,
it's
it's a pumpkin beer aged in brandy barrels. So let's just start with the 2015.
And the fun part about this is that in episode 25, we gave your pumpkin picks, the Central Waters episode, and the 2017 was definitely on that pick list. We basically said that is a good iteration of a pumpkin beer that you want to age. Does it have the actual aging symbol on the bottle there?
The new one, the 2016 one, does have the aging symbol on it. The 2015, I guess that's before our interview with Russ and before they actually established that with Mobcraft and all the.
Oh, that's right.
The backstory, yeah.
Interview number 1 with Russ Klisch on
definitely,
the Tap Takeover Podcast.
Yep, you'll be hearing about, if you go back and listen to that episode, you'll hear about the little logo that but like promotes aging the beer. So let's start with this 2015. What do you guys think? It's like I said, it's the 9.5%.
Well, yeah, we can kind of do a side-by-side tasting here. Mm-hmm. I will say I like the older one better. It's a little lower on the alcohol percentage, which made me a little bit worried that the aging process might have done some damage to it. But I will say it's a lot smoother with the aging on that 2015 than the 2016, which is still really good. It's got that nice brandy barrel flavor. I will say, if you're going to age a pumpkin beer in a barrel, brandy's not a bad way to go.
Well, it goes back to the whole thoughts of aging in general. This is an experiment, right? So even before we talked to Russ or anybody about this whole aging and certain beers, I had this hanging out in the cellar for a long time, 2015. I think it's very mellow. I just don't know. Do you think it's really good now? Do you think it could be good next year? Do you think we should leave it another year? Just drink it now? Or what do you think?
Honestly, I don't have a frame of reference as far as aging pumpkin beers. It's an experiment on top of an experiment, which is the experimental pumpkin beer to begin with. You know what I mean?
I guess I want to start off by saying, from the crew, I think I'm the only one that really loves pumpkin beers. I love the spiciness, and I love that sweetness to it.
I know that you're definitely the only one in the crew who ages pumpkin beers.
Yeah.
I've got one Warlock in the basement, and we'll be trying one of those later.
Yeah.
But you're the only one. You're the one that turned me on to pumpkin beers. Andy, have you been
Andy
into
does not love
beers?
pumpkin beers.
I fucking hate pumpkin beers. They're atrocious.
Andy, as someone who hates,
an honest opinion.
As someone who hates pumpkin beers, what do you think about that 2015 and 2016 side by side?
The 2016 almost made me throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Okay.
The 2015,
honest opinion.
I liked.
Really?
And
so
I'm
what did
not
you
a
like
fan of pumpkin.
So what did you like
tonight's
about
gonna
it?
ruin my one slice of pumpkin pie I have at Thanksgiving.
Honestly, do you like pumpkin pie? Because that's what these beers taste like.
I do one slice every year at Thanksgiving.
It's like a beautiful piece of pumpkin pie in every glass.
So let's break it down. What did you like about the 2015?
I thought the brandy really mellowed into the beer and melded with the pumpkin in the barrel.
And those spices, right? It was just
It's almost like a nutmeg-ish, like fall holiday allspice type of thing. The 2016, I mean, that's a year old and it's still full of that shit that I just can't stand in, excessive amounts.
It is so high in alcohol too.
It's very hot. It's coming off hot after even just a year.
Yeah, a part of me wishes I would have gotten that new 2017, but I like letting it sit because it's so high in alcohol, especially...
The 2017 was still the same, though. It was like 13.8, 13.7.
Lakefront does the 2 pumpkin versions, regular pumpkin and the imperial pumpkin. We're tasting the imperial pumpkin right now, and that is, it comes out hot. It's still coming out hot a year later, but I like it. I still like it because of the spiciness and all that, the sweetness to it. So
okay, so let's talk about favorite between the two. We're doing a side-by-side tasting. I'm going to go with the 2015. I think that year of aging and the fact that it was a little lower on the alcohol content to begin with has made it much smoother. I'm getting a lot of vanilla notes and, just a lot of like good pumpkin pie notes, whereas the 2016 is coming off a little bit hot. What do you guys think?
2015 by a country mile.
I still like, I agree with you guys. 2015 is very good. I like the 2016 because it's coming out hot. I like the booziness and I love the taste that comes out because that is what I think of a pumpkin beer.
Well, here's the rest of mine, Jesus.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be back with the next 2 beers.
All right, we're back with our second 2 beers, and both from Southern Tier. We got the Imperial Pumpkin Ale and the Warlock, which is the Imperial Stout brewed with pumpkin and some flavors added, some pumpkin flavors added.
See, that one's interesting because you have the one beer where it's brewed with pumpkin, and you have the other beer where it's brewed with pumpkin as an adjunct. So let's talk about these beers. Which one do you want to start with, Jesus?
Well, I guess we just start with the Pumpkin, which is their pumpkin like beer.
Well, not regular, because it is an imperial version. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about intense pumpkin flavors. It hasn't been barrel aged like the Lakefront that we tried recently. It doesn't have that brandy kind of bent to it. It's just intensely pumpkin.
And I also should add that these are a year old.
Okay.
So both of them have been sitting for a year.
This is the 2016 version.
2016 version of both.
Well, I'd have to say I'm glad it's been sitting for a year.
I don't know what that means.
It's probably dumbed down a little bit from where it was. The pumpkin flavor is kind of fallen off, but it still tastes a little spicy. It's like a spicy pumpkin. There's a whole lot of allspice in it. But that's what I get from it.
That's the stuff I like about pumpkin beers, though, the spice.
It's like a little more intense flavor on a good slice of pumpkin pie, honestly. I mean, the pumpkin, that's what you're getting. You're getting a full slice of pumpkin pie. You're getting all that cinnamon, all of that, like you said, Andy, the allspice, all of the spices that you would expect with a pumpkin pie. That's what you're getting with the pumpkin.
So I should say the flavor that it's described on the bottle, malty sweetness, pumpkin pie, and pie crust. And I think that's what we're getting.
Are you getting that pie crust? Where's that?
Somewhere in there.
Okay, it's in there.
Let's throw some turkey and gravy in it, too, and just call it fucking Thanksgiving. I mean, shit.
So, Andy, tell us what you feel about pumpkin beer.
So let's transition over to the Warlock here, where we're taking a pumpkin flavor and we're using it more as an adjunct than we are a traditional flavor that's been brewed into the beer. It's an imperial stout where pumpkin flavors have been added. Where do we think this lines up on the pumpkin scale?
Well, it's not too pumpkin.
I don't taste pumpkin at all.
Oh, hey, we have a special
cameo.
We have a cameo. Mary Jo's in the house. Mary Jo, what are your thoughts on the Warlock?
It's not a pumpkin beer. I mean, it tastes okay. It's not a pumpkin beer to me. I like ones that are spicy.
So it's more like the dark. It's more stout than pumpkin.
I would think that.
So that's the problem. A problem or what you get with an adjunct as pumpkin as an adjunct.
It's really fun that you were able to join us, Mary Jo, because you're Jesus' girlfriend, and not only that, but you guys are big on the pumpkin beers. You guys are the ones that got me into pumpkin beers, and Andy is a hater.
Gonna happen.
He's a pumpkin hater.
What about pumpkin beer bread? Would you try that?
I've had a
it's
ton
the
of
gateway
pumpkin
drug.
bread over my
No,
lifetime.
pumpkin beer bread, Andy.
That's the gateway.
feel like you're just adding beer to the pumpkin. It's not a fan of pumpkin.
Okay.
But anyway, it's great that you can be on the podcast with us because we need another advocate. Jim was not able to be with us tonight, so we need another advocate for the pumpkin. And I want to know, do you think that if this had not been aged, that it would have been more on the pumpkin side and you would have been more in favor of it? Do you think the pumpkin flavor has fallen off because of the year of cellar aging? And I want to know that specifically because I have a bottle in my own cellar.
Possibly. But I guess I'm not a fan of stout, so maybe that's part of it too.
I think it's the stout part. It's the stout part with her that she's just not a fan of the stout. Mm-hmm. And this beer is interesting because what you said, it's an adjunct. Pumpkin has been added to the stout.
It's predominantly stout.
Yeah, it's not really a pumpkin beer, but this is kind of what got you going into the pumpkins because...
This was my gateway drug.
Yeah.
This very beer was my gateway drug into the pumpkins because I was like, oh, you know what? I hate pumpkin beers, but I love that stout with the pumpkin flavor. And then suddenly a year later, I'm fully into the pumpkins and I can't look back.
And I will agree with Mary Jo that the Warlock is definitely not. I don't see that as a pumpkin beer either. It doesn't have that huge pumpkin flavor that you're getting from the Pumpkin. But my question to you, to all three of you, is these guys do in very limited amounts. They do a bourbon barrel aged and a rum barrel aged version of both of these beers. What do you guys think about those?
Well, I have
if we could get our hands on them, what direction do you think they would go?
Oh boy.
I've not tried either of those, but I can't even imagine. Jesus, you have more experience with the pumpkin. What do you think those kind of barrel...
Pumpkin patch.
Where's my pumpkin patch going?
What do you think those kind of barrel flavors would add to that kind of beer?
Oh boy, from my favorite reference, it's only that brandy barrel from Lakefront that I've tasted. A rum barrel is, I don't know. That's a weird one.
Mary Jo, what do you
Andy,
think?
you said there's a bourbon.
There's a bourbon barrel and a rum version.
I think the bourbon barrel would be fantastic with the pumpkin.
Why?
The flavor together.
Do you think like the smoky, like vanilla kind of would add something?
I think that would really be
to
great
the
with
spices?
that. Yeah,
So
I want to try that.
I think the rum would be very good too. If they had like a pure sugarcane rum barrel, it'd be just fantastic.
Well, I think bourbon before rum, but I see what you're saying though. The rum, yeah, I didn't know they had the different variations like that. So
I think that's where a brewery's real courage to go into a barrel aging program it lies. We've talked to breweries we talked to Central Waters who were willing to try an Oktoberfest in a bourbon barrel. Just because they've got bourbon barrels lying around, but we can't always say a bourbon barrel is a good idea on a beer, and the audacity, the courage to put a pumpkin beer into a bourbon barrel it's really saying something. It's really it's a step ahead for a brewery, and I would love to see it. I would love to see what that tastes like.
No, it's actually surprising because a lot of these pumpkin beers are just straight up pumpkin beers. It's weird to have that Lakefront aged in brandy barrels. Warlock is a little different, but most of the beers you get are just straight up pumpkin beers. There's actually one that we will tease now, that Avery Pumpkin, that Avery beer that's aged in bourbon barrels, which is amazing. I got one bottle, but we're teasing it right now. We're not going to do it as part of this tasting, but it's that kind of stuff that just will blow your mind.
It's kind of fun, too, because it's pumpkin, spelled with a K-Y.
For Kentucky.
For Kentucky, for those bourbon barrels.
It is wicked, yeah. All right, we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back with two more beers from, as Andy calls it, Jesus's Pumpkin Patch. We're going to do the Whole Hog, and we're going to do the Schlafly Pumpkin Beer, which is one of my favorites. We'll be right back.
No!
Welcome back to Jesus's Pumpkin Patch. We're going to be trying the Whole Hog Pumpkin Ale and then the Schlafly Pumpkin Ale, Jesus's favorite.
So both of them, I should say, are over a year old.
Now, I'm hesitant here because I know that you're a big fan of Schlafly. I know that you're a big fan of Schlafly, Jesus. I don't know. I think I like the Whole Hog a little better, which is crazy because I'm not a huge fan of Whole Hog
but let's
in
start
general.
off with Whole Hog in general. Whole Hog is a division of Point Brewery. They do their experimental beers, I still think Whole Hog is a great pumpkin beer, but I love Schlafly.
The Schlafly is much more full flavored.
Oh yeah.
I like the initial flavor of the Whole Hog, but I like the full flavor of the Schlafly. Mary Jo, what do you think here?
Then I'll ruin everything when you're done.
I think the smell of the whole hog is fantastic. It's a little bit more intense than the
You
Schlafly.
get the spices for sure.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. The smell is better than the actual taste
From Whole Hog, right?
from Whole Hog. Yeah.
But I still like it because it's spicy. It reminds me of pumpkin bread.
You know, oddly enough, what do you guys think? The nose on the Schlafly is really minimal, right?
It's minimal compared to the Whole Hog, but the actual flavor of the Schlafly is much better.
No.
Okay.
The nose is better on the Whole Hog. For me, at least. The Schlafly, it's okay. There's no really nose on it. It's kind of mellow. Like I said, not a fan of pumpkin, but the Whole Hog actually, it's decent for me. I mean, it's what this beer does is it's going to ruin my one allotment of a piece of pumpkin pie for the year.
Do we have years on these guys? Do we know what year?
Both are aged a year.
Okay, so both of these are the previous year, 2016.
Yep.
So they've both been aged a year. They're interesting. I would not put either of these beers above anything that we've tried so far. I think that's a big distinction. I think we've tried most of the best beers so far, although we have an amazing beer for the finale.
Okay, so before we get to the finale, and I know the finale is gonna wipe everything off,
I hope so.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about the beer so far? We've been all over the board, but primarily pumpkin is the main factor here.
Oh, sure. If we had to pick a favorite and even a second favorite.
Go around the table.
Let's go around the horn.
last
Let's
six?
go around the horn here. Alex, you start.
Okay, I will start with the Warlock. I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin beers, and I like when pumpkin is used in a little bit more of an adjunct mode, but I will say that the second favorite of mine was the 2015 Lakefront pumpkin beer. That one was absolutely fantastic. Mary Jo, I'll toss it to you.
Schlafly's always going to be my favorite pumpkin beer. And then I like Whole Hog as the second.
Well, I was actually I want to go with the 2016 pumpkin beer from Lakefront.
Okay.
It
Also
had
brandy barrel aged.
Yeah, it had everything from a pumpkin beer. That like the spiciness came out hot. It was that over 13% alcohol. I really like that beer.
And I'm gonna go with the Whole Hog. Leave out
Really?
the Warlock altogether. I'll go with the Whole
shit.
Hog. I thought it was my perfect example of what I want in a slice of pumpkin pie, with even with the whipped cream added to top.
So, are you a convert?
Yeah,
No,
the man who doesn't like
absolutely
the pumpkin beers.
not a convert to pumpkin beers. This is
Okay.
more pumpkin beer than I've drank in the last 4 years.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Jesus, I think there may be one more beer that we could try that may be able to convert him.
Okay.
And, what is that beer? And please,
We're gonna
describe
go.
it.
We're gonna take a little break. We're gonna open up this beer because it has a nice little foil in it. But it is the Avery pumpkin beer.
With a KY.
Yeah,
Huh.
damn right. This is the 2016. It's the porter brewed with pumpkin and spices, aged in bourbon barrels.
So this has been aged a year in your
This
cellar.
this has been in the cellar for a year, and it is. I'm very excited about it, and I'm happy to share it with you guys.
And after the break, we're going to break that sucker open. How
All right,
about it?
we'll be right back.
All right, we're back on the special pumpkin episode, and I'm going to send it to you, Jesus.
We're doing the Avery Brewing Company Pumpkin. So they spell pumpkin with a KY.
Because of Kentucky.
Oh yeah, Kentucky. It's the porter brewed with pumpkin and spices, aged in bourbon barrels.
And this might be our most intense, flavorful version of the thing that we've been trying all night, which is those pumpkin beers.
Are you okay with 15%?
I'm okay with it.
Because that's what we got here.
Andy, are you finally okay with a pumpkin beer at 15%?
I don't like the smell.
God damn you!
Son of a gun.
Thank
The
you
bourbon barrel,
Thank
like-
you for sitting in for Jim.
The bourbon barrel mutes the pumpkin taste of it, though. I will say that. And honestly, this is my favorite of the night. Still not converted, Jesus, to your pumpkin patch, but I could drink a bottle of this.
Well, with that
15.
high alcohol, it has everything with the sweetness of that high alcohol, the spices, everything. This is a fantastic beer.
Yeah, this is high alcohol. Those brandy barrel aged versions were very good. The brandy added a certain thing, but the thing that Avery is doing with these bourbon barrel aged pumpkin beers is beyond where it needs to be, and it's really fantastic.
It's that fine line between high alcohol and like sweetness, you know. So they went above that like 13% to 15%, and it is sweet, it is smooth, a fantastic beer.
Well,
Yeah.
so it's only what 1.2% higher than Lakefront, right? And
But
this
it
is
just
way. Hey, this is way better than what Lakefront.
that
put out.
percentage that it just makes you like reassess that whole percentage point. It is amazing that 1.5% is so smooth.
Well, I'll tell you what, it might be the barrel that they aged it in that makes all the difference. Between a brandy barrel for the Lakefront and the bourbon barrel for this Avery, I'll tell you what, that vanilla flavor that's coming through in the Avery, the smokiness that's coming through in the Avery, is just not quite there in the Lakefront. I love the Lakefront, but I'm more in love with the Avery.
Well, I mean, brandy's all about the sweet. The bourbon is more of the mellow undertones, and which I'm definitely getting from this beer.
Mary Jo, what do you think?
It's not that spicy.
So you would still think it's not a true pumpkin beer?
It's very smooth.
Yeah.
I like that. I could drink a whole bottle of this.
Okay.
But I like it a little bit more spicy. I don't think this is that spicy.
So what do you guys speak on that? The whole, well, you know what a pumpkin should be, right?
Yeah,
the spiciness.
That's an
the
interesting
sweetness.
take.
Yeah.
To say that it doesn't taste like the pumpkin pie that a pumpkin beer is supposed to taste like is one way to say that this didn't hit the mark. Another way to say it is that this transcended the pumpkin pie flavor of a beer and has become something else. And I don't know, it's just a way of looking at it, honestly.
Well, you said this beer is a year old already, right?
Yeah.
I think that might have a lot to do with it, especially from Avery. So I've had them fresh, I've laid them down. I think it's delicious, don't get me wrong, but the pumpkin is like the undertone in this beer. The barrel is speaking to us. You know, you get that bourbony, oaky flavor.
That's actually a great point, Andy. Yeah, the pumpkin is not the star of this, right? It is the barrel, and it is hot. I still think it's hot.
It's coming off hot.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
It's coming out hot.
But I like the hotness.
No,
on
no,
this one.
it matches up to our palate, I guess.
So I'll tell you what. Let me challenge you here, Jesus, a little bit. This one's been sitting in your cellar for a year. Is this one that you would age further, and how much further would you age it before you think this one's about ready?
As we've heard from all our interviews, it's an experiment, right? I don't know if it's hot, but I do not know if I would age it anymore. Just leave it. It's hot. It is what it is. I would not do anymore.
I think this one's pretty much ready to go, but I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it a year from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I see this one on a trading site and I'm able to buy it a year from now, I'd like to see what that tastes like. How about you, Andy?
So I think we're about wrapped up here with the pumpkin beers from Jesus' Pumpkin Patch. But let me say this to everybody. We're going to, there's no gray matter when it comes to things like pumpkin beers. So give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of pumpkin beers. We're going to take a trip back to Jesus' Pumpkin Patch next year. So give us some comments or some emails. taptakeoverpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think, because we're going to take a return trip to Jesus' Pumpkin Patch next year, and we'd like your input, and maybe the best input we gets to take a visit with us here at the Tap Takeover Podcast and be involved in that episode.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what sort of pumpkin beers that you guys are into. What do you want to hear about? If you have a question, is this going to be good before I buy it? We want to hear those kind of comments. It looks like we're out of beer here, guys. We're finally out of pumpkin beers, which is a relief for Andy and a detriment for Jesus.
I got more.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I got more.
Thank you so much for the Gleasons for our theme music. For me, for Alex.
Jesus.
For Andy.
And Mary Jo.
This has been a Solid Non-Filled Podcast.
He said there's no more beer, no more beer, no more beer.
Jiggity, jiggity. Yeah.